In life, you have to learn to count the good days. You have to tuck them in your pocket and carry them around with you. So I'm putting today in my pocket and I'm off to bed. Hello, my name is Rhianna and today I want to talk about a really great book, which is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. And I just read that quote from the book at the beginning of this video, and I think that quote really encapsulates the feeling that you get from reading this book. And that is that there are good people in the world, there are good days in your life, and that things are worth living for. And I think there are quite a few reasons why this story impacted me so much and why I enjoyed it so much, which I'm going to talk about today. But firstly, a little bit about this book. So this book is a cozy mystery novel written by Richard Osman, and it's about four friends who live in a retirement home. Their names are Joyce, Elizabeth, Abraham and Ron, and every Thursday they meet to discuss murders that never got solved. And then what happens is a murder happens on their doorstep. And so they take it upon themselves to solve this murder, working with the police, sometimes against the police, to determine who murdered the man. And as the story progresses, perhaps more murders might occur or more mysteries appear which they need to solve. It's not just like who killed whom, it's also develops into much more than that. And prior to reading this, I don't think I'd ever properly read any like cozy mystery novels. I certainly had watched them on the TV, but had never read them because I thought the genre wasn't really my cup of tea, and that's because I couldn't fully understand how you could take something like crime and make it cozy and make it wholesome, because crime is not very good. You know, I feel like the crime genre fits much better when it's gritty and dark, because that's the nature of crime. However, this book showed me that cozy crime can work. And the main themes in this novel are those of friendship and getting older and what's left of you after you've gone, and looking back on the past and trying to be good in a world that is often not so good. It's also really funny. There is one particular line where a character says 46 kilos must be around 23 stone, which is quite humorous because 46 kilos is definitely not 23 stone. There's also a moment where there are ashes and a character says as much as they liked the person who is now the ashes, they don't want them all over their countertop, which reciting it sounds a bit odd, but when you're reading it, it's kind of darkly funny. Okay, so one of the reasons that I really enjoyed this book are the clear characters in the story. So as I said earlier, we have Joyce, Elizabeth, Abraham and Ron, and each character is really distinct. And Richard Osman makes them distinct because he introduces a lot of specific details about the characters, and I think that is key when creating good characters. You need to find specific details that are unique to them, because those are what make us, those little specificities. So Joyce, who is really our main character, and we also get diary entries from Joyce, whereas we don't from any of the other characters, so I feel like as the reader you grow a stronger connection with Joyce. And Joyce used to be a nurse, and now she's a really sweet old lady, but she also has a lot of determination. And it's also very clear that Joyce is of an older generation, because she doesn't really know what Tinder is and describes it quite humorously. She also had never heard of man flu, which she thought was quite a humorous concept. And she also got tickets to Celebrities on Ice, which I think is quite popular in the older demographic. She also has quite a lot of mourning for the past. She mentions how she used to go up to London with her friends, and then on the way back on the train they would drink gin and tonics together, and she mentions how those friends are no longer around anymore. The other three main characters, I suppose, are also really well defined. Elizabeth is amazing. Elizabeth is like just a girl boss. So Elizabeth has lived in lots of different countries, it seems. There's a lot of mystery about what she actually did for work and whether she was maybe a spy. She's also very hands-on in trying to solve the murder. She's very determined to solve it, and she isn't afraid to go about this in maybe dangerous or difficult ways. We also have Abraham, who used to be a psychologist, and so he views things in quite a measured and empathetic way. And also I think it's Joyce. She says how she feels that Abraham will outlive them all. And I thought that was quite a sweet thing to say, because it does feel like Abraham shouldn't be able to die, because he's just such a lovely presence to have in the room and in a friendship group, that it's not nice to think that one day he won't be there. Then you also have Ron, who is like a bit of a cockney geezer. He delivers quite a few comical lines, and yeah, he fits really well in the group. I wanted to add one more thing about the characters. So I was part of a writing course in autumn, and in the writing course, the person leading the session said that when thinking about characters, you should think about how that character will react to finding a £5 note on the floor. And ideally you want like every character in your play, in your novel, in your story to react differently, or to have like a specific way that they might react to it, which is quite a useful exercise, I think, because it gets you thinking about your character's motivations, and really characters are defined by how they act in certain situations. And my reason for mentioning that is I think that for Joyce, Elizabeth, Ibrahim and Ron, they would all react differently to finding a £5 note. And I think Joyce would hand in the £5 note, and Elizabeth would try to find out where it came from. She would try to solve the mystery of it. I think Ibrahim would think about the logic behind someone like being careless with money and losing a £5 note. Why weren't they more protective of their money? And I think Ron would pocket it. He would take the £5 note for himself, probably not think much more about it. And so I think that's really interesting that all four of them have different reactions to that scenario. Another reason why I love this novel is because of the compelling narrative. So I touched upon this a bit earlier, but the story is not simple. It's not like there is a murder and they need to solve the murder, although initially it is, but then it becomes much deeper than that. You are introduced to lots of different characters and you get to know their backstories, and there's also not just one mystery. So initially it's who killed whom, and then there are other mysteries that are introduced. Who killed whom again? And there are these bones in this grave, and where do they come from? There is a priest, and you know, any good murder mystery needs a priest in it, and there's a mystery as to whether the priest is really a priest, are they trustworthy? And I suppose that's kind of true for a lot of the characters as well. So in this retirement home, everyone is a bit of a suspect because everyone was there when a murder occurred. So because of that, as the reader, you're really trying to determine if you can work out who the bad guys are. Also, the story is not just restricted to the English countryside. I mean, that is the main location of the story, which is great. We love the English countryside, but it also goes wider than that as well, and it goes a bit international. One point the characters go to Cyprus, and that was nice because it made the story like have deeper layers to it. It explores like gangs and the drug trade, and I liked the what is the word? The complexity of that. And the novel also has quite short chapters, and lots of different perspectives are used within the novel. So it never gets boring. It's really easy to keep like reading because it's constantly changing, and then something happens that's unexpected, and yeah, what a page turner. And I think I really like novels where, okay, you have something bad that happens, but there are good characters that are trying to make it right, trying to find justice, and it makes me feel like, oh, maybe the world is not so bad. There will always be good people despite the bad things that happen. So I also wanted to talk about the relatable themes in the novel. So we have friendship and justice versus morality, and the goodness of people, and finding purpose in old age. And I really enjoyed the theme of finding purpose in old age because I think it is something that a lot of people struggle with getting older, because of course the older you get, the more limited your opportunities are, and also the closer to death you become, and there's also more opportunity to look back on the past and maybe regret things. And of course a lot of people don't like getting older, but I feel like the novel showed the joys of being older, the opportunities to make lots of friendships because you're in a retirement home with lots of other people, and the opportunity to like do things like solve murders because you have more free time if you have a pension. And yet in connection with that, there's a really lovely quote that I liked in the novel, which is, it was a community, and in Ibrahim's opinion, that was how human beings were designed to live. At Cooper's Chase, anytime you wanted to be alone, you would simply close your front door, and anytime you wanted to be with people, you would open it up again. If there was a better recipe for happiness than that, then Ibrahim was yet to hear it. And I think I agree with Ibrahim. I think that is kind of the secret to life as well. You don't want to be on your own without the possibility of socializing, because if you feel like you want to socialize and that option is not there, then it can lead to loneliness. But similarly, you don't always want to be around people, because then if you do feel like you need just some time to process things or just be on your own, and that option is not there, it can make you feel a little bit exhausted and worn out. So having the option to socialise and be with other people and be in a community, and also the option to be on your own, is a really well-designed life. So I like that quote from the novel because it spoke about the importance of community. And that's also another theme in the book, how we need other people, we need community to thrive and to keep going. Okay, so thank you for listening to my ramblings about this book. A movie is coming out of this book later in the year, and Celia Imrie is playing Joyce, Helen Mirren is playing Elizabeth, Ben Kingsley is playing Abraham, and the guy who plays James Bond, Piers Brosnan is playing Ron. What a great cast. I'm really excited for the movie, also directed by Chris Columbus. So that was really what spurred me on to read the novel, because I wanted to read it before I watched the movie, and I could also be more excited for the movie having read the book. So yeah. Thank you for watching this video. Have you read the story? What did you think of it? Why did you like it if you liked it? Why did you hate it why did you hate it if you hated it? Yeah. And I'll see you in another video soon. Bye bye.